online we have Bryce Turner. Good morning, or it's actually good evening, I think, to you, isn't it, Bryce?
I think it's about 2:30 in the morning over here.
Yeah. So listeners, online we have Bryce Turner, who is what's the name of your organisation? Because I know I got it wrong. And what are you in Israel for, Bryce?
Yeah, look, I look after the New Zealand division of Christians for Israel, which is in about 45 countries around the world, and I look after New Zealand and the Pacific Island branches. We have only finished a couple of days ago an Anzac Solidarity mission. So we brought across 13 people, New Zealanders and Australians, did a bit of touring, visited some sites, shook a lot of hands, blessed a lot of people, gave some blood, volunteered on farms, all sorts of things really, just to come at a really difficult time and let people know that they're not alone.
And Bryce, you've done that at a time where you knew that you were going to get rained on with bombs. How does that work?
Well, to be fair, we didn't really know that Iran was going to do what it was going to do. But at the same time, it obviously is a calculated risk. I was actually over here for a month in November, only weeks after the horrendous October 7 events. And it was as a direct response to that I found that it actually was generally very safe. This is a country that, despite from New Zealand, these are things we're not used to, watching people walking around with rifles and guns and ammunition, that sort of thing. On the other hand, seeing that around and seeing the response, especially after October 7, actually made this probably one of the safest places in the planet to be. So as a result, obviously there's places that you don't want to go. There's areas of South Auckland you don't want to go at the wrong time of night too. But, with a bit of wisdom, it's actually very, very safe, and there's no problem coming over here and spending some time.
So why does your organisation how has it ended up in Israel? And you talk about some of the stuff that you're doing, and it sounds like it's like a cross between sort of like a working tourism model. Is that sort of correct? So you have people coming over on tours and also for obviously a religious experience as well. Is that what you're up to?
Yeah, look, normally we operate a study tour, which we try and do every year. That is a straight up, obviously as a Christian organisation, majority of folk involved are Christian, are people of faith. Not all, but the majority. And our study tour is normally about 2.5 weeks on the ground, very, very intense, place to place, very high level explanation and detail, and a great experience. We were due to have a study tour in November, departing on the 5th of November. Yeah. And obviously, thanks to the actions of Hamas, that was no longer possible to operate that. So hence I came across just with a little tiny group of 3 of us in November. This particular Anzac Solidarity mission that we've just completed is very different. That was done directly in response to the challenges over here at the moment, and hence the volunteering, the volunteer work, and the ability to just meet Israelis, meet Arabs, meet Muslims, meet Christians, meet Jewish folk, and just really get an understanding of what they're going through right now. And it's been a great privilege. I'm obviously over here for a few more weeks, also doing more voluntary work. I've also got a lot of interviews, and I'm meeting with families of survivors. I'm meeting with families of people who are still missing, hostages, and meeting with families who had young people murdered, and just to get more details and to be able to share another perspective on their stories with the folks back home.
Cool. There's 2 things I want to talk to you about is the 48 hours leading up to the Iranian attack. and just exactly what happens on the ground when that happens. And also, I'll return shortly to how you're dealing with some of those people who have been deeply affected by the October 7th. But first, can you just run us through when everyone in Israel realised that Iran was going to rain down bombs, and what was Israel's response on the ground as a person, like living there? What was it like, and what did you have to do?
Look, it really is quite interesting. Again, coming from the perspective of a New Zealander, we've never faced an attack from overseas in real terms, certainly not in anybody's lifetime. It was quite an amazing thing to see, because on the one hand, you've got a country that is of amazing military strength, of amazing emotional resilience and fortitude, but you've also got a country that, unfortunately, is quite used to this. And whilst the Iranian attack certainly was of a scale and of a type unseen, actually unseen anywhere, on the other hand, these guys are fairly used to people shooting at them.
Yep.
So as news started to go around, obviously, even up to a week before the attack, people around the world were speculating. There were various articles in news media suggesting that some sort of major attack was imminent. To be honest, not a lot of attention was paid over here by the general public. Obviously, the military and the leadership, that's a little bit different. But the general public, they've just got to carry on. Life is very difficult over here. Tourism has completely just disappeared.
Yeah.
There's a major shortage of foreign workers. There's issues at the moment with a lot of the Palestinian workers. Many tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands that would normally come into Israel and work, obviously are unable to do so at the moment due to the unrest and the tensions.
Yeah.
So, people are doing it hard. On the other hand, I did notice people checking out bomb shelters, making sure that they had safe rooms sorted, everything was under control.
Yeah.
And
so are they common? In Israel, is it common for most office blocks or homes to have some form of place to go to?
Unfortunately, it is. Where I'm staying at the moment, the bomb shelters are outside. They're a room that is accessible to a group of homes.
Right.
And that's common all through the country. In more recent times, especially in areas like the Gaza envelope and some parts of the north where Hezbollah has been a threat for some time now, all homes, by law, have a safe room built in.
Wow.
So one of the bedrooms effectively is a safe room. It has the huge, thick concrete, steel reinforced concrete, and the appropriate doors, ventilation, all that sort of thing. As we know from some of the tragic stories that we saw from the Gaza envelope, many of those safe rooms were not designed with a ground attack in mind.
Wow, so, that's a really good point.
There were many people who, and I have met some, who literally had their hands shut off by terrorists with rifles as they tried to hold the doors shut to prevent the terrorists coming in and killing their family. And there are many dozens and dozens who have had significant injuries, and as I said, people have even had their hands completely shot off, trying to hold that. But all those modern buildings do have safe rooms. Every hotel I've ever been in, it's quite interesting, really, when you book a room to have a meeting or a conference, they take you down to the basement of the hotel where they have all the bomb shelters.
Right, so it's not just like we have in New Zealand where these are the exits if there's an earthquake.
No, I'm afraid not. The problem is you can't just run outside or go to an emergency meeting area.
It'd be quite sobering.
Because obviously when there's things flying around and there's shrapnel and